This is a Double Face, a true crime podcast. Please make sure to follow, like, and subscribe and get the notifications when a new episode drops. Please help by leaving a 5-star review. It helps the small podcasters like ourselves. Thank you again. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. This is the Double Face. I'm Jose.
Hi guys, it's Melissa.
Okay, so the new week, new case. And so I have a really good case today that almost feels like it could happen to anyone. Mm-hmm. The decisions in this story can... Look, when we were younger in our 20s, we made some rash decisions and we fucked up. Mm-hmm. Right? And I feel like it might, if we had just made one more wrong decision, we would have been in locked up, don't let me out. Because we would have messed it up, I think. Mm-hmm. But I think it's, so this is one of those stories where it's heartbreaking. It's hard to watch and listen. But at the same time, it's eerily like vindictive at the same time. Wow. And frightening because of how easy it is. So, do you have anything to say?
No, I mean, my weekend was work. Back to school.
I have a...
Did you do anything?
Yeah, I got a new job, honey.
Oh, that's right. Congratulations.
Thank you. And this is because I have my online stuff, and then I like to have a job that pays my bills, honey, and then everything else I like to have for play. Because we got in that travel itch, right?
Yes,
it's
I know.
fun.
I have, and I'm like
itchy, right? Where's your next trip?
My next trip is with you, but if we're talking like major trip,
no, like a good trip.
A good trip. I was all, well, that should be a good trip. Well, I guess within Texas, you're like saying outside of Texas.
Yes.
Well, we're planning. Well, my bestie is planning a 40th birthday trip to Puerto Rico, so we'll see how that plays out.
Ooh, Puerto Rico. I want to. Yes, that one actually sounds fun. No, who cares? I'm not gordita. They like gorditas everywhere.
But you?
Nothing. I have. Oh, so I do have my stand-up show that's coming up September 4th in Houston at the Improv Center.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
yes.
September 5th in Arlington Improv Center. September 14th in McAllen, which is El Rey del Cine or something like that. Cine El Rey. And then we're going to Corpus Christi November 15th and 16th. But that's further up.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm excited about those. Get your tickets. The links in my bios and in my Instagram. Jose Nahuatl. Sorry. I almost forgot. With that said, let's get into the story of this episode's true crime. So I want to first start off with Gregory Glenn Biggs. He was born August 16, 1964. This is a man that he's a bricklayer. And do you know what that is?
No. But
literally just putting bricks and then building.
Oh, layer. Okay, he works.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like his, sorry.
Like his body's bricked up?
No. Like
he's bricked.
His personality or how he carries himself. That's what I thought.
Because brick can be slang, right?
Yeah.
So I get it. But he was considered a friendly man, loving, but he didn't have a lot of friends. And I think this played a factor because he was diagnosed as bipolar and mild schizophrenic.
Oh, man.
And I feel like that can play a big factor as to not people wanting to be around or him not wanting to maybe bother people. And I say that with air quotes because I think with medication, I think it can be controlled or however that the correct wording is. So now he does have a girlfriend. She's going through these financial strains and is like, hey, I can't seem to pay my bills. Can you help me? So of course, Greg's like, yes, I'm going to help you. I'll do whatever I can. Let me give you the money that I barely have. And so he gives it to her. Well, after he helps her, he ends up in strains, financial strains. And so they repo his truck.
Okay.
And as you know, as I mentioned, he was a bricklayer, so he needs equipment to work.
Yeah.
He's working independently, so it's not like he's, has somewhere a 9 to 5 or whatever. No, he has to work independently, so he loses his truck, and now he's coming against financial strains. So on top of that, he can't work because that's all he knows. So then he starts losing his house. So he's coming into so much chaos with, no offense, there are certain times you can help people and there are certain times you just can't, girl. But because he was a sweet man, I don't think he was ever going to say no to her. So anyway, they end up taking the house from him because he falls back bill after bill after bill that he can't pay. So he becomes homeless. And he jumps from like shelter to maybe some certain people's houses here and there, but he seems like the type of guy that's just not going to put anybody out.
Yeah.
Like if he's going to be put out, it's on his own. And so he's jumping from shelter to street to homes to wherever. But for the most part, it's a shelter or in the streets. So this is what's going on with Greg at this point. Now I want to take a pause and let's go into the next players. So Chante Mallard. Chante Mallard is 23 years old. She has a best friend called T. Fry. You're going to hear some names in this one that I was like, what the heck? I'm sure there's a beautiful meaning behind it, but the letter T
and Fry,
like F-R-Y. This is really weird. So if I ever jump from T or Fry or just Fry, you'll know it's just the same person. They were best friends. So T. Fry is she's also in her 20s. She just started going through like this messy divorce.
Okay.
And they're in their 20s. They're trying to have fun. They're trying to enjoy their time. She said, me and Chante we're just free spirits.
Okay.
Whatever that meant, honey. You better. I heard her say that. I said, what that mean, girl? But they just like to enjoy their time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were at home one day and they were smoking weed. And of course, they're doing whatever they got to do, honey. Smoking. I don't know where it was legal, but you have fun, honey. Mm-hmm. So Chante then calls this guy that she's talking to. His name's Cleet. Yes, Cleet.
Like football cleat?
Yeah, like cleats with that, yeah. But Cleet, she calls Cleet and she's like, hey, we're going to go to the bar. Are you going to go? And he's like, yeah, I'll see you guys out there. Meet you guys there. Okay, cool. So the girls, both Fry and Chante, head to the bar. And Chante Mallard is just already at this point feeling really good. They've had 3 drinks allegedly because I don't know. I feel like there's more to that, but they're not saying anything. Mind you, they already smoked weed. Now she's drinking. Well, Cleet finally makes it. And he's like, he looks at Chante and he's like, are you okay? And because he looks, you could tell she's inebriated. Oh my God, I can't say it. She's under the influence, honey. I don't know why that I have a tongue twister with that. But she's under the influence and he could tell. But he tells her, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. Well, then he turns to Fry and asks, is she okay? He goes, oh yeah, we just had 3 drinks, but I also gave her ecstasy.
Oh, shit.
Nah, bitch, you didn't just give her a drink. She's not okay. She's out of her fucking mind.
Boy, they just got high. They're drinking and they're having, now it's ecstasy. Oh, God, no. That's...
I feel like it's a combination for disaster.
Yep.
Well, mind you, it's almost 2 o'clock. Mm-hmm. But right before 2 o'clock, Cleet had already told him, hey, I'll see you guys later. Text me, whatever, call me. Whatever it was at the time. Mm-hmm. I think it was call me.
Well, yeah, because...
okay. Back in 2000. So, early 2000s.
so cell phones were
call me. Like cell phone.
Landline.
Yes. Well, that'll explain later on as to why, the era of the time. And so Cleet's like, hey, I'll see you guys later or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, of course, they're both so under the influence, but mostly it's Chante. So her best friend's like, hey, I'll drive. I'm less inebriated, so I'll take
se te salió.
it didn't work. When you don't think about it.
Right.
So they're like, okay, so Fry's heading to her house first because Chante parked her car at Fry's house.
Okay.
So she's driving and she says, okay. Well, they get to Fry's house and Fry turns to Chante and says, hey, are you going to be okay driving home? I can follow you.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm fine. I got this. You go home, you know. So she gets behind the wheel and starts driving.
Oh, God. Okay.
At this time, it gets a little weird, right? So at the same time that Chante is driving, Great Biggs happens to be walking the streets. Wait, and he's trying to get from one location to another. Mm-hmm. This is something that nobody explains. I wish the son explained, but he doesn't know because he wasn't there. Nobody knows why, but he's crossing a highway. And I want to mention it that nobody's mentioned. I feel like he crossed the highway for whatever reason, partially, allegedly, could be, because maybe he was like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking too.
Because this is, look, if the highway's in the way and you got to go maybe 5-6 miles out of your way to go around it, I understand you're going to take a huge chance at your life, but he's crossing a highway at 2 a.m, knowing there's drivers like that on the streets. Mm-hmm. And who knows if he's taking his medication, who knows if he's, in his rightful mind, mm-hmm. whatever it is. He starts crossing the highway, and at the same time, Chante keeps coming, and poof!
Oh my God, you scared!
I am sorry. 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 I wanted to have. Sorry.
Oh my God. Because I'm picturing him walking, and then you did that, and I was like, oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Instant reaction.
I was trying to add noise. I'm sorry. It's not a laughing matter, but it scared her.
Sorry, it was a true reaction.
We're not laughing at them. We're just laughing at her, at Melissa. So, his body is instantly hit on impact. Mm-hmm. Well, his body's hit so hard that his whole the torso and face goes right through the windshield. Oh, wow. It hits an impact. And I mean, his half of the body is dangling out there. So she, of course, Chante starts screaming and yelling. She finally pulls over and she's like, oh my God. And she's just, I'm sorry, oh my God. And so she goes to the window to try to pull him out. Mm-hmm. Why to pull him out? There's nothing but glass all over him. That's the last thing you want to do, mm-hmm. is pull somebody's body from all that glass. You don't know what artery you're going to cut. You don't know what's been hit. Don't touch his body. Well, she goes and looks and she touches his waist just to grab it. She freaks herself out and pulls back. She's like, oh my God. So she then says, okay, I need to get back in the car. So she goes back in the car. And at the same time, she starts driving. And you would think that she's driving to a hospital.
With him?
In the car. Still dangling. On the roof. On the hood. Still dangling. At the same time as she's driving, you can hear him moaning and she's like, I'm sorry. And that's all she keeps saying is, I'm sorry. It's going to be a constant repetition with her is, I'm sorry. And so she then gets all the way to her house, which is from the location to where she hit him to her house. It's a mile away. So she was that close to her house. Yeah. Along the way, she makes it to her house. She has a garage. She pulls up to the garage. She closes the garage door and is inside looking at him, walks out. She says, I tried one more time to pull him out to see, but she freaked herself out. And so she just apologized. Mind you, he's still moaning. She's like, I'm sorry. And she just literally walks back to the door that connects to her house and closes it behind her. Now, do you remember she was a CNA, right?
No.
Okay, she was a CNA. She's a CNA, so is her best friend. If I didn't mention it, I'm sorry. She's a CNA. And so when she walks into the house, she could have called 911 at that very moment. But something tells me that from the moment that she kept on driving that mile, she automatically knew that she was not going to help him.
Mm-mm.
Because she ends up going to her house, and she, instead of calling 911, she calls Fry, but she waits to call Fry. She calls Fry and she's like, oh my God, she's frantic. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I did. I'm so sorry. That's all she keeps saying. And Fry's like, what happened? I'm on my way. So then Fry heads over there. Mind you, she's, probably already in sleep mode by the time she calls her. She gets there. When Fry walks into Chante's home, she's like, what happened? What are you talking about? What's going on? And so then Chante explains, this is exactly what I did. I hit a man, and the man is dangling through my window and is just laying there. What do I do? And she's like, yeah, who's gonna fucking believe this? Mm-hmm. So then Fry walks in, opens the door, and looks, and she takes a step, and within just a couple of steps, she's like, no. Mind you, they work together. Mm-hmm. No, what? She's like, no, I don't want nothing to do with this. But she assumes at this point that, because she doesn't hear anything from Greg, she didn't hear that Greg Biggs is making noise, so she's just assuming he's dead. Mm-hmm. So she turns around and starts walking to her car. She goes, look, Chante, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm so sorry. I know that this is wrong, blah, blah, but you need to call 911. Call 911. But Chante follows her out of her house, walks into the passenger seat, up to it, gets in the car with her, and they both head to Fry's house.
Okay.
You could have called 911. Another adult could have called 911, but Fry didn't want to be part of it. Bitch, you are already part of it. It doesn't matter that you're like, I don't want to be part of it. No matter what, somebody's going to find out that you came to this house. She was hanging out with you during the day. You're already part of it. Even if it has nothing to do with this part, call 911. So she then sleeps it off. Or I don't know what happens that night. They don't explain it. But the very next day, Chante then decides, you know what? I've gotta head home. Let me call Cleet.
Oh God.
Chante this is pissing me off. Chante keeps adding people to the storyline when she could have been the responsible party the entire time. It literally could have taken her seconds to just fix this. Now, she calls Cleet, right? And Cleet Jackson had just gotten out of jail. So she figured, I'm going to call him because he would know.
He would know what to do.
He would know what to do. He's been in prison.
He's a criminal.
Yeah. What does that mean? He's not a murderer, though. He's not in there because of those. So anyway, she decides Cleet. Then she tells Cleet, hey, can you come to my house? Hold on, I have to take a little gulp of coffee.
Coffee?
Mm-hmm. I wanted iced coffee. So she then walks in. She calls Cleet, right? And Cleet is, he doesn't, again, is almost a copy paste to what T Fry said. And so he walks in and he's like, what's going on? He opens the door and he goes, what the fuck? He said, what are you getting me into? He goes, I'm on papers, which is slang for I'm on probation. Mm-hmm. Ew, you knew that?
Yeah.
You're a hood rat. I didn't know that. I was like, when I heard that, I said, oh my God, I'm such a thug. I've never heard that before. I'm on papers.
I mean, you know my history.
Oh, yeah, with vatos and things.
Even family.
Family, cousins, neighbors, uncles, yes. But to me, it's too much. Like,
that is a lot. Yeah.
you already are making another person part of this. So anyway, Cleet's like, I don't want anything to do with it. But he doesn't stop there. He could have literally turned around and been like, you need to call the cops.
Mm-hmm.
He did tell her, you need to call the cops. But then she was like, please, please. I guess she was begging and crying. But by this point, Cleet or Chante, it's not clarified, goes and checks on Biggs.
Mm-hmm.
And his body is just cold at this point. He's already died. So they by this point, Cleet knew, okay, there's no turning back. He's dead. And so she's like, well, can we please help me? I just need to get him out of here. He's dead already. They're not thinking logically. She hasn't been thinking logically at all for a while.
Since she hit him.
And you know one thing that I didn't check, and I'm so sorry for the listeners and viewers, is that I didn't check how long ecstasy can be in your system. And
before it wears off?
Before it wears off. And I also don't know what that does to your thought process. Does that make sense?
I wonder if it's
she's under the influence of weed, alcohol,
and ecstasy.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that I'm not excusing her behavior, but I'm also saying along the way could that have affected. So anyway, Cleet says, you know what? Fine. He says, I can call my cousin, and his name's Tyrone. Herbert Tyrone, to be exact. She's like, let me call him. Maybe he would know what happens. So then Chante, Cleet, and Tyrone are discussing, because Tyrone comes over and he's like, well, we got to take care of this. Mm-hmm. Why he said okay, why all these people said okay, it's beyond me. I would have been like, bitch, I'm calling 911 and I'm my boy right motherfucking here. I understand we're going to be in different situations, but that's a human being.
Yeah, somebody should have made that call.
No adult. Anyway. So then they have the audacity. Chante calls her best friend Fry, who's not present at the moment. She's back at home and she's like, fuck off. Chante says, hey, can you do me a favor? Can I use your car to transfer the body from one location to another? And she says, hell nah! Hell nah! In case you didn't hear it the first time. Bitch, I would have fought that bitch. Are you going to call somebody that you already...
Try to involve.
No, she made her involved. Regardless, she's part of it. But now you try to get her car involved. You know you can't drive your car because it's not functional. Or it is, but you can't. You can't show the car.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so then they think of something and Cleet's like, no. Yeah, Cleet's like, you know what? Let me call my girlfriend. Let me see if I can borrow her car.
Oh, my God.
So then, mind you, the girlfriend's like, yeah, you can borrow the car. So they head over there, go get the car. They come back. At the same time, Cleet then lays out a blanket next to the car. And I could tell, look, we've seen on these cases where sometimes you can tell that the person is remorseful. Mm-hmm. And it shows in the court case, right? That Cleet and Chante are remorseful, but not enough to call them 911. So anyway, they lay it down. They're removing his body from the car. Fingerprints, blood's everywhere. Mm-hmm. They put him in the blanket and they roll him up. As soon as they roll him up, they were like, where can we take him? Well, Cleet had said we could leave him at Cobb Park because this is in Fort Worth, Texas. I haven't mentioned that.
Oh, no.
I just wanted to kind of let that sit with you for...
Texas.
This is in Fort Worth, Texas. There's a park that's in the southeast section of it's in the hood, honey. It's in the hood. So more likely this park is not a place where people are at night.
Okay.
So they take the body, they pull up to the park, they pull over to the side, and they throw his body. Well, After they drive away, Clee tells all three of them, don't mention any of this to anyone. And so they all agree, okay, that's fine, it's fine.
So this is Chante,
Chante, Cleet, and I'm going to say Tyrone because...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tyrone's the third person. I feel like what a group of people, right? What a group of people. They all find each other for some reason. Well, it doesn't take long for the body to be found. So Officer Michael Carroll was called to check on the body because somebody called it in and said, hey, at first I thought somebody had, let me retract that. Officer Michael Carroll was called in to check for the body in Cobb Park because somebody said, hey, there's a body here or there's something rolled in. Mm-hmm. So when he shows up, he notices that Big's legs, his left leg was broken because of the huge impact it had, that when he was in there, they had to, like, the leg was just like placed on top of the body. Does that make sense?
Ooh.
Like it wasn't almost all detached, but it was almost severed to the point where it's just dangling. So they just placed it on top and rolled him up.
Oh my God.
What they noticed was that he says that there was no bruising, there was no gunshots, there was no knife marks, there was nothing to indicate that there was a beating or something happened, but he goes, there was shattered glass. And in that glass, he goes, this looks like it was like a traffic accident gone awry, and then they placed this body here. So he had to know it all to know, like, look at, I'm looking at this and I know that this doesn't happen here. So on the court date that they're kind of discussing everything, and the reason I'm going back and forth is because we need to hear from certain players. I won't get into the court case too much. The only reason I don't is because we're getting all this information based on some of the court cases.
Okay.
So Dr. Nizam Pirwani, he performed an autopsy. He concluded that, in his conclusion, that the reason Gibbs died was because of the car accident, of course, and the reason he also died was because of that broken leg, because it was severed almost to the point, and it was such a huge gash that he bled to death.
Oh, okay. I was like,
yeah, they did mention, was it an instant death? And he said, absolutely not. Do you have a time? And he says, no, I don't have an exact time as to when this happened not when this happened, but I also,
the time of death?
like, know how long it took for him to die.
Oh, okay.
So he says, I can't give you that estimate, but I know it wasn't minutes. It was hours. He says, all I can tell you is that he survived for hours. He said, had they called 911 and they've gotten someone there, anyone, fire department, police department, anyone, they would have saved his life. So even through all that, the doctor is still, what was his name? I'm so sorry. Dr. Pirwani said, no, he would have lived. Who knows, right? In every situation, but for the most part, that's
at least try within that time frame. So if later on his injuries get, the best of him, then that's later on. But at least in that point in time, he probably could have been saved.
And I think this is why. This is the constant thing that's playing in my head. How come no adult is saying, let's call 911? I don't care if I get in trouble. That's a human being right there, still alive. Well, for two of them, they were still alive. Call 911. Nobody decided to.
Because they were all going to get in trouble.
Yes.
And that's all they were thinking about was themselves, not the fact that he's a father, a brother, a son, none of that.
And I think that's why it broke my heart to hear this, because you said son, and there will be a son part, because he has a son. Briggs has a son. So out of all this time, T. Fry, Chante had another mutual friend named Miranda. So Miranda, mind you, there's about 4 months in between, like, Can't find who it is. We don't know what's going on. But in between that, on the 4th month, Miranda calls 911 because she finds out what happened through mutual friend, like through, I'm assuming Chante, because you, just by the, I'm not part of this, I can, for some reason, T doesn't give me the thing that she's gonna go and talk about it.
Yeah, because she don't want nothing to do with it.
She has nothing to do with she doesn't give me that.
And then you got the criminals that are like, hell no, I ain't saying shit.
Yeah, Fry's like, yeah, exactly. And Fry's just not giving out something. She's just giving him that. So Miranda calls in, and this is why, I mean, great that she did this, but also, what a bitch. Yes.
Okay.
So Miranda calls 911, and they play the 911 call, and she's like, hey, I just want to, there was a crime. I know the person who did the hit and run. She is the one person that hit that man and then buried his body. I took his body and not buried it, but laid it out at Cobb Park.
Okay. ...
Right?
Yeah.
But then she says, yeah, and then she had sex next to the body. Yeah, they were laughing about it. Yeah, and then she was, we were at a party one time, and Chante was saying that she was laughing. I hit a white guy, and he didn't survive, and I killed him. But when they interview T-Fry is being interviewed because she doesn't go to jail. So, because they need her in the testimony, and they need her testimony in order to get the bigger picture, which is Chante.
Yeah.
So, Chante's like, wait. And she is so, she's not uttering any other words. She's like, she lied. And the media lied. She goes, she lied, and so the media just added to it. She goes, but it's not true. She never said that. All she could do was, I'm sorry. She goes, she was a good human being. I know what she did was wrong, and I know she wasn't logically thinking. Mind you, she's in her 20s. She just made a mistake, and she's going to have to pay the price. Is what she's pretty much saying. So, as they're going through the testimony, as they're taking the information, everything, it seems that it's clear. It's clear. I mean,
kind of cutthroat, like it just
feels like it's going to be clear and to the point, and there's not much to it. So on February 26, 2002, they served a search warrant because, remember, they just called.
Yes.
Miranda just called, so they immediately head to Chante's house. So as the officers make their way, they immediately go to the garage, and in the garage is that car still, except.
So it's like 2 years later from the time that it happened. Okay, or 4 months. You said.
Well, this is only 4 months because of the search warrant. So they immediately make it to the garage. As they walk in, the officers notice that the car's been stripped. I mean, the seats are removed. It has so it shows a picture, and it has a steering wheel and the gear.
And the whole car's
like the inside is stripped.
Oh, okay.
So there's also no more glass there. So it almost looks like it was cleaned up, but not really cleaned up. It almost feels like they really didn't give up. They're gonna do the bare minimum, but they're not gonna really do anything. And the reason I say this is because they found fingerprints, they found blood, they found all the players there were found because of the fingerprints. And as they walk through the house, they go to the back. When they go to the backyard, right there, as soon as you walk out the door to the left, tilted next to the wall of the house are the 2 seats.
I don't understand why you stripped the car then if you were just going to put it in the back.
You were just going to place it in the back. No, I'm not encouraged. Like,
it just doesn't make sense.
I'm glad that they're idiots.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that they're not all functioning. They're all working with one brain. And I get it. That's great. But really? Chante, you're that dumb, girl? You did all this, and then you couldn't even clean the car? I'm just saying. Anyway.
Because we also, when we're telling these stories, we also got to think like how they would think. So it's not just us, we got to think like them. Because it doesn't make it doesn't make sense to us.
It doesn't make sense because at the time I'm assuming that you're not drinking because you've I'm assuming you're a clear mind at this point. You've had enough time to strip it, clean it, do whatever you want to do it, but you don't. So T Fry says that she had been wanting to
what?
admit that she did it to 911, to the police. Wanting to and doing is two separate things. You ain't gonna convince me that Chante was wanting to when you told me that she just sat there doing nothing with it. So,
and you clean the car. You try to get rid of evidence.
We don't know. It doesn't. So I don't.
Well, I mean, from the stripping and all of that makes it sound like you were trying to clean some sort of evidence, even though you didn't do it. Thank God.
Correct.
But
so the officers then immediately, once they've already searched and they're like, "Oh, we have enough to like arrest her. Let's ask her questions while they're sitting there." They said, "Hey, did you murder? Did you run over?" And they go through everything, Greg Biggs and so forth. And did you dump the body? And she starts admitting everything. Okay. She doesn't hesitate. She's like, "I take ownership. I did that was me."
Okay.
But so they arrest her and they take her in. Lieutenant Mallard. Did you hear that correctly?
Mallard?
Lieutenant Mallard, which is Chante Mallard's brother. Her brother worked at Station 22. He was on duty that day. That same night, she could have easily called him and said, what do I do? And he could have said, let's call 911. We're on our way. They're only literally 4 to 5 minutes away from Chante's house. And during that time, Chante's house to the hospital is only 6 miles away. Wait, so from the time that she hit Briggs to the time that she drove, which is only 1 mile, that 1 mile, there was 9 payphones on the way. Payphones on the way. She could have easily stopped and said, I just hit a man. I need help. Nothing.
Even if she got to her house, she could have called.
Correct. She had enough time. She could have said, because look, we're all going to freak out. We don't know how we're going to behave in certain situations, but you had plenty of time. And I think that's the story of all this, is that you had enough time to consciously say, I need to get him help. Because he's a human being. I keep saying it over and over. So I'm not going to get into the court case. And the reason I don't get into the court case is because the whole story that I'm pulling it from is from the court case and then from all this. So they do actually go into the verdict, and they only take exactly 1 hour to determine the verdict. And they say that she is guilty on both cases. She is sentenced to 50 years with the possibility of parole in 2027, which is coming up.
Oh, that's soon.
Yes, with 10 years of tampering with evidence. So I want to mention that at the same time, they call Greg's Biggs' son up, Brian Biggs, and they ask him, would you like to speak in behalf of your dad? Say the closing, whatever you would like.
Yeah.
And he gets up there and he goes, I just want to say that day 2 people died. And it was my father and it was Chante. He goes, I forgive you for what you did. And he just says, I forgive you. He's all, I forgive what you did. He goes, as long as you've learned your lesson, I forgive you. And she's weeping. And they're not like, you know, those fake tears, or you know when somebody's doing crocodile tears. This is not it. She is, every time he is speaking, and it's immediately when he says, because he talks about his dad for a little bit, and then he says, I'm sorry, I forgive you. She's weeping. So then it's her turn to go get up and give her testimony or whatever she wants. And she cries and she says, I'm so sorry. But that's all she does. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I did that to your father. I'm sorry I did that to my family. I really am sorry. And I feel like it says a lot about her, but at the same time, it doesn't say too much. Because if she was really sorry, I waited till the end to show you this. If she was really sorry, she wouldn't have gone back a week later after the incident to the same bar. Where's the conscience in this? Where's the thought process in this? If you felt guilty, I would think that you would not go to the same spot, same places that trigger that same night.
Mm-hmm.
Stay home. If you're going to drink yourself to death, that's another thing. But you went back to the bar just a week later. So I don't really know where her guilt lies and if it really mattered. But
it probably lies with her, not with anything else, only because she's serving time.
Correct.
So it only she's only guilty. She only feels guilty because it affected her, not.
I think so too.
Not anything else.
At first, she kind of got me with the tears, right? And I was like, oh, she is remorseful. And part of me feels like she is.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I think she's guilty for being found.
Mm-hmm.
She's guilty because she did do it, but didn't mean to get caught.
Mm-mm.
So I think this is one of those situations that forgiveness is huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness is something that let me ask you, do you think you could forgive a man that if he hurt somebody in your family like that?
Probably
or a
not.
woman, I'm sorry, anyone.
No.
And this young kid,
if you're talking about this scenario or any scenario where nobody helps and everybody's making the decision to cover it up, then no. But
absolutely.
if it was,
you're saying in general.
In general, but if it was a situation where you're helping and it was an accident, then and all factors played into where it led up to, okay, you helped, for whatever reason, I still lost a loved one, then I could forgive. But if it's where you're not even trying, then no.
And I think I completely agree with you. It's I don't know how else to summarize that other than I don't think I would be in a place at that moment to forgive. Mm-hmm. And even if I did forgive, I would do it in my own silence. I wouldn't tell her. Mm-hmm. Because of the way it played out. But I do want to mention that is the story of Gregory Glenn Biggs, and our hearts go out to the family, to Brian, his son, and to anyone that was affected that were part of it, like her family, because they
lose her too.
They lose her too. Mm-hmm. But with that said, thank you for listening. Make sure, please give us a 5-star rating because it really does help. Thank you. Dame un besito. We gotta go.
Bye, guys.
Bye.